Hello and a very warm welcome to this special interaction that I have on Sports Today. Rugby season is currently on, not in the southern hemisphere, but up here in India. The Rugby Premier League, in a very corporate-like style, is giving a lot of exposure to our rugby players in India and is also giving us international exposure. Crucial in giving this international exposure is one of the stars that I have from Rugby Sevens. He helped Australia win the gold medal. He's been one of the major stakeholders when you look at rugby sevens in Australia. I'm talking about Tim Walsh. Tim, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us for the special interaction on Sports Today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Tim, when you look at this Rugby Premier League, it's hosted by GMR. It's a very corporate setup when you say rugby is in this country. A rugby style, corporate style rugby tournament. In your experience, have you ever had this kind of a setup for rugby sevens anywhere in the world? And if no, how is this going to help the growth of rugby in India, especially rugby sevens, considering it's an Olympic event?
Yeah, no, the answer is no. This is a very unique and innovative way to promote the game and show around the world. We've obviously got the Olympics, as you mentioned. You know, it's the pinnacle of world sport, and providing growth rates really. This is the key to it, and in India, where um, let's hope that hosting the Olympics at some stage in the future, being an Olympic sport, rugby sevens, it's going to really expose the game and athletes and players to participate and really enjoy everything that rugby sevens has to offer.
When you look at all the leagues in India, I mean, we are going into a kind of a Premier League kind of a model when you look at Indian sports. There is cricket when you look at Indian Premier League. There is now Rugby Premier League with the franchisee model. How effective do you think is the franchisee model system when you have to look at growth of sports? And especially when you look at such a sporting country like Australia, where you don't technically have a franchisee model, but still Australia is successful. Why do you think that difference remains when you look at India and Australia when you look at rugby?
Yeah, look, I think it's the evolution of sport, particularly in the way that the world is operating now. We want bite-sized chunks of entertainment, within rugby, a physical battle. So I think when you've got a country like Australia, when you have your traditional sports and traditional ways of doing things, as sport evolves and entertainment evolves, because that's ultimately what sport is, you have to adapt to the environment and use your strategies to their strength. And I think the corporate model, the different leagues, is not only going to make the game more exposure to the world, but provide more opportunities as well. Because then you're going to have all these different leagues popping up, hopefully all over the place, and then having feeder academies and clubs and um, basically inspiring players to play and then provide a pathway or a career in what I think is one of the greatest games.
Tim, rugby sevens is part of the Olympic curriculum. In India, we are going to host 2036, potentially bidding or planning to host the 2036 Olympics. Looking at the first edition of this Rugby Premier League, what are the challenges that India faces? And when you look at Australia, which is a very successful rugby nation, what is the advice and what do you think are the challenges that India faces? Because if you look at skill, strength, there are bright spots for India, but we don't capitalize on. What is the advice that you want to give from the first season of this Rugby Premier League? in order to build up for 2036 Olympics?
Yeah, look, rugby sevens is it's a difficult game, both physically and mentally, and it takes a lot of time and effort to produce an Olympic champion or an Olympic team that's going to compete. Um, and the runway that is now provided or starting to be provided now with this RPL has given a great opportunity because in 2036, you're an automatic host, which means you participate in the event, so like qualification. But when you look at it as a sevens player, you have to be a jack of all trades, master of some. So you can't just specialize in a particular area, like in attack or kicking or defense. You have to be able to do it all, and that takes time. And then, like I said to you, the mental side of the game, not only competing at the highest level, but the on off, the distractions, the preparation, the recovery, the injuries, which generally happen in a contact sport. So there's just a plethora of different things that takes time, and then. We've all heard of the 10,000 hours theory, when you get to that point of where you can be competitive. But when you've got, I think, a massive population, a lot of passion and enthusiasm for sport, and we all know sport's addictive and how healthy it is, that the potential there is huge. And again, within rugby, you need people with different skills, different sizes, different strengths. So it is a game for all. So you can have guys that are 6'8" and guys that are 5'6", and they can be equally as effective within their role. So if you look at India, you look at the population and the variety of different strengths, you can put together a pretty lethal team, develop those athletes, compete with those athletes together to get them better, and then build them into Olympic sevens players.
Final question, Tim. When you, as the coach, helped the team win the gold medal, at that time, rugby was slightly having some issues even in Australia also, but then you managed to overcome that. There's a saying that nothing talks like success. Success is the only impediment by which you can shut up all the detractors. But then, how did you go about ensuring that the gold medal would be there? Because rugby sevens, it's a very competitive thing in the Olympics and other major events also. When you won the gold medal, how did that boost your not just your stature, but the team in particular, and acceptance for rugby sevens in Australia?
Yeah, look, when you started that question, sporting using, you can do all the preparation, all the work, all the strategy, work just as hard and get the loss, and you don't get to tell your story like you're asking me now around a gold medal because we won it. Maybe if we didn't win the gold medal, would I be sitting here or would you be talking to me and ask these questions? So there is. Defining moments within the sport, and then how do you maintain or how do you keep that competitive advantage going forward is critical, and that's I think a strategic plan amongst how do you leverage it, how do you leverage what you've done, how does the team grow, how does the sport grow, and from that Olympic gold medal, the whole landscape of the Australian contact sport changed, particularly for the women. And there were moments in that Olympics that exposed the world to rugby sevens, to women's rugby sevens. There was this one moment which I'll never forget, but there's a player called Charlotte Caslick who's been the world's best player a couple of times. She's won every medal that could possibly be available. And there was we're playing against America, and one of the Victoria, her name, one of the American girls was like flying down the sideline, and it was like shut the gate, like try time. And in the corner of the screen, you see this yellow fluoro yellow jersey, Aussie jersey, just in the corner of the screen, just sprinting, elegantly, but like a Terminator, and just came out of nowhere. And she had her, pigtails in, and eyelashes, and fake tan and short shorts, and she absolutely textbook tackled this girl into the corner, jumped to her feet as quick as she could before the other girl and took a breath, looked down, threw her pigtail over her shoulder, and walked out to the field to do what's next. It was like she was on the catwalk. And from that moment onwards, it was like girls, women are playing this barbaric game, and playing it with poetry, with elegance, with skill, and that catapulted the perception of women's contact sport, particularly rugby sevens, within Australia and the world, to another dimension. And then the drive for participation, the drive for competitions, the desire to play the game, and the acceptance to play the game, completely shifted. And in Australia, we had a rugby league, which is one of our national sports. They knee jerked into starting a national competition. The AFL started a national competition. The rugby sevens generated more competition, more funding, and the whole in the last sort of since that Olympics, is just driven a professional contact sport for women, a pathway, a career, equality, feminism. Is everything is just really sort of catapulted of that. So massive effects and positivity from that medal, and not just from an Olympic gold medal winning team. The effects of that have rolled over into the rest of the world, and other agendas, and other issues that have made this world a more equal and better place.
So there we have it, Tim Walsh. Thank you so much for taking time out, Tim, and talking to us. It has truly been an honor, and thank you so much for helping Indian rugby in a big, big way. We hope that you come back here more often, and hope we get to interact with you more often.
My pleasure. Look, I've had an absolute ball here in India, and massive thanks to Mumbai, but the Indian people, the sporting public, and huge thanks to GMR for having the vision to make this happen. And we're hoping it's going to continue, and we'll be able to touch the lives of people all around the world. So thank you.
Thank you once again, Tim, and thank you so much, folks, for joining us for the special update and special interaction. And do like the stream, do like the videos, like, share, and subscribe, and also subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis. Bye-bye.